The promotion announcement lands in your inbox at 8:52 a.m. on a Monday. You read it once. Then you set your coffee down and read it again. Senior Creative Director, Meridian Group Atlanta. Effective immediately. The name in the subject line is not yours. It's Kyle Brennan's. Kyle, who joined the agency 14 months ago. Kyle, whose Q3 client presentation you restructured over a weekend because the original deck had 3 slides that contradicted each other and a revenue projection that assumed a 40% conversion rate on cold outreach. Kyle, who presented that deck on Tuesday morning and received a standing ovation from a room that did not know you existed. You look out the window at the Buckhead skyline. A delivery truck is making a slow turn below. A woman walking a dog stops, checks her phone, keeps moving. At 9:14 a.m., 22 minutes after the announcement, an email arrives from Renata. She's asking you to prepare the onboarding brief for Kyle's new role. You read it once. You set your phone face down on the desk. Then you pick it up and text the only person who knows the full picture. They gave it to Kyle. Renata just asked me to onboard him. A pause. Then, I know. I saw the calendar invite. Another pause. It's time. To understand why this moment was always coming, you have to understand what Meridian actually was when you acquired it 22 months ago. The number that gets mentioned, $5.8 million in annual revenue, sounds almost reasonable until you look at what's underneath it. 51 employees, $5.8 million in revenue. That's $113,000 in revenue per employee, which is not a thriving creative agency. That is an agency that has been drifting, not failing dramatically, just slowly losing altitude the way something does when nobody is watching the instruments. The industry benchmark for a healthy mid-size marketing agency runs between $150,000 and $220,000 per employee. Meridian was generating about 60% of that. The margins were thin, the pricing was soft, and the creative output was good enough that nobody felt the urgency to fix anything. Good enough is the most dangerous place a company can live. Greg Paulson, the previous owner, had built the headcount because headcount felt like momentum. He hired warm bodies and then found work to fill their hours, which is the exact backwards way to run a services firm. He priced based on what he thought clients would tolerate rather than what the work was actually worth. He was liked, genuinely liked. Meridian had a good culture in the way that companies have good culture when nothing has gone wrong yet. 4 people left in the 6 months before you started making moves. A senior designer named Deshawn, gone on a Friday with a handshake and a grocery store cake. A copywriter who spent her last 2 weeks updating her portfolio. A project manager whose exit interview said only that she needed a clearer path forward. A social media lead who didn't give a reason at all. You read every exit interview in a private folder the night you got system access. You saved them. You still have them. The people who stayed were staying out of habit or loyalty or a market that wasn't offering them somewhere better. Neither of those is a culture. Both are a slow leak. Oh, your attorney's name is Patricia. She is 53, keeps a single orchid on her desk that she has somehow kept alive for 11 years, and has the particular stillness of someone who has been the most prepared person in every negotiation she has ever sat in. She is Meridian's external legal counsel and, as far as anyone on this floor knows, the sole representative of the company's private ownership group. Nobody here has ever met the owner. They have met Patricia. They trust Patricia because every decision that has come through her has turned out to be correct. The arrangement works like this. You review everything at night, at home, on a laptop that has never been inside this building. You identify problems. You write instructions. Patricia translates them into the language of institutional ownership and delivers them with her signature. Salary restructuring, client terms, new hire approvals, the pricing overhaul, all of it routes through Patricia. All of it originates with you. You have been sitting 11 feet from Kyle Brennan for 14 months. Here is what you actually built in 22 months. From a desk on the second floor of a building where nobody knew your name was on the deed. You stopped backfilling roles that didn't justify their existence. Over 10 months, through attrition and 2 departures, Patricia handled with full severance. The headcount moved from 51 to 42. You repriced the entire client portfolio. Meridian had been billing at 2020 rates in 2024, which meant every engagement was a quiet subsidy paid out of its own margin. One client left rather than accept the new terms. They were billing $72,000 annually and consuming the bandwidth of a team that could bill $280,000. You let them go. The account director called it a painful decision by ownership. You called it arithmetic. You restructured compensation across the firm. Average increase, 13%. The quiet LinkedIn updating stopped. Then 2 new business introductions through Patricia's network, a healthcare group in Alpharetta, and a direct-to-consumer brand in Charlotte. Combined annual retainer, $1.1 million. Meridian's revenue crossed $7.2 million at the 18-month mark. 42 employees. That is a different company than the one you walked into. Then there is Kyle. Kyle Brennan arrived 14 months ago as a senior account strategist, with a resume that looked better than his instincts. He is good at rooms, the specific skill of reading what a room wants to hear and then saying it fluently. Confident in a way that reads as competence, until you have seen enough of both to know the difference. He speaks in meetings with the particular authority of someone who has never been wrong in public, which is different from never having been wrong. He is less good at the part that happens before the room. The research, the positioning work, the structural thinking that makes a presentation worth sitting through. You covered for this without planning to. It started 6 weeks after he joined. He was leading the Whitmore pitch, a regional retail chain, $180,000 annual retainer on the table. His draft brief had the right format and the wrong insight. The competitive framing was surface level. The creative territories didn't follow from the research. You could see exactly where it would land in the room, politely received, ultimately unconvincing. You rewrote the positioning section that night. Not the whole thing, just the part that mattered. You sent it to him as a comment in the shared folder with no explanation. He incorporated it without acknowledgement, which you told yourself was fine. The pitch closed. The client signed. It happened again with the Q3 presentation. Again with the Charlotte brief. Each time, a version of the same pattern. Kyle's name in the from field, your thinking underneath it. You told yourself it was easier than flagging it. That the work getting done was what mattered. That you weren't in a position to make noise about attribution without explaining why you cared so much. You were wrong about that last part, not about the reasoning. The reasoning was sound. Wrong about what the pattern would eventually cost you. Because here's what the past 14 months looked like from the outside. Kyle Brennan produced consistently strong work, led 2 major client wins, and demonstrated the kind of strategic thinking that warrants a senior creative director title. None of that is what actually happened. But the file that existed in this building said it was. The week before the announcement, you overheard something you were not supposed to overhear. It was Thursday evening. Most of the floor had cleared. You were at your desk finishing a brief. Kyle and your managing director, Renata Osei, were in the glass-walled conference room with the door cracked. Renata was walking Kyle through the promotion timeline, the role, the announcement, the optics of the decision. Kyle said something about the Q3 deck, something about his approach to the revenue modeling. You sat completely still and listened to him describe your work. Not approximately your work, not inspired by your work, the specific restructure, the conversion rate correction, the 3-slide fix. Described in first person, with confidence, to the woman who would be signing the promotion memo. You waited until they left. Then you sat at your desk for a while, looking at nothing in particular. Then you texted Patricia. You did not sleep well that Thursday night, not because of what you overheard. You had known for some time what Kyle was doing in the abstract. The way you know something without having it confirmed directly. The confirmation itself wasn't the thing. The thing was the specificity. He described the Q3 revenue modeling in enough detail that you could hear your own thinking coming back to you through his voice. The decision to reframe the conversion rate, the way you structured slide 11 to lead with the risk context before the opportunity. Those were not general strategic instincts. Those were specific choices made alone at a kitchen table in Decatur at 11:30 on a Sunday night while the city was quiet and nobody was watching and the work was just the work. You had made those choices for the company. Because the company needed them, and you were the person who could see that. You had not made them for Kyle, but you had made them in a way that let Kyle take them. And that was a decision you had made too. One small instance of ease chosen over friction. Repeated enough times that it stopped being a choice and became a structure nobody had to maintain. It just ran. You sat at your desk that Thursday evening after the conference room cleared. You thought about Deshawn, who left on a Friday with a handshake and a grocery store cake. the project manager who needed a clearer path, the copywriter updating her portfolio at her desk for 2 weeks before she left. 4 people who went looking for somewhere the work they did was seen. You thought about what it costs to do good work inside a structure that routes the credit somewhere else. Not catastrophically, just quietly, month after month, in small surrenders that each feel like the practical thing. The promotion was never the point. You own the company, titles don't reach you, but Kyle's name on your thinking reaches to Sean. It reaches the copywriter who updated her portfolio for 2 weeks before she left. It reaches everyone who ever did good work in this building and went looking for somewhere it would be legible under their own name. Then you texted Patricia. Monday morning, 8:52 a.m., the announcement in your inbox. By 11 a.m., a calendar invite has gone out from Patricia's office. All staff meeting, Thursday at 1 p.m. Ownership representation present, no agenda. The floor spends 3 days in the specific low-grade unease of people who know something is coming, but not what. Kyle sends a Slack message in the general channel about being excited for the next chapter. 7 people react with a clapping emoji. You react with nothing. Patricia arrives Thursday at 12:45, navy blazer. The orchid is not with her, but the leather portfolio is, placed on the conference table without being opened. Renata sits at the head. Kyle 2 seats down, still looking like a man who thinks this meeting is about him, because until 12 minutes ago, it was. You sit at the far end of the table. Same seat you always take. Patricia lets the silence sit a beat longer than is comfortable. She does this every time, and it works every time because silence costs most people more than it costs her. She begins with the promotion announcement. She says the announcement issued Monday is being rescinded. She slides a document to Renata, a redacted portion of the acquisition agreement. Enough visible to establish the essential fact. Meridian Group Atlanta was acquired 22 months ago by a private individual, Patricia says. Her voice is the same as it always is, which is the point. That individual elected to take an operational role inside the firm following the acquisition. They have been working on this floor since that time. She looks down the table at you. The room follows her gaze. Renata is the first to place it. You watch her expression move through recognition, then recalculation. Then something that looks like the beginning of understanding a joke she didn't know she was inside of. Her eyes go to the conference room, the Q3 deck, the brief restructures, the client memo that closed Alpharetta. Kyle looks at you. His expression is harder to read because there are several things happening in it at once. You wait until the room has sat with it long enough, then you say the thing you have been drafting quietly for about 4 months. I needed to understand what this company actually was before I changed anything about it. The only way to do that was from inside it, not above it. A silence that means people are deciding things rather than saying them. Renata sets down the acquisition document. She looks at it, then at you, then at nothing for a moment. When she speaks, her voice is precise in the way of someone choosing each word carefully. The Alpharetta pitch, she says. The Q3 deck. She is not asking. She is accounting. The Charlotte introduction, says one of the senior account directors quietly, mostly to herself. Kyle says nothing. He is looking at the table. Not at you, at the table, which tells you everything about where he is right now. There is a difference between someone who got caught and someone who is surprised to have been caught. You know which one this is. There is a specific quality to the silence around him right now. Not hostile, not sympathetic, just the silence of people who are recalibrating, who are running their own accounting, the Whitmore pitch, the Q3 deck, the Charlotte brief, 14 months of work moving through one name and originating somewhere else. The math is not complicated once you know what you are adding up. Renata knows. You can see it in the way she is holding her pen, not writing, just holding it. She is a thorough person. She will go back through everything. She will find all of it. You look at Kyle for a moment, then look away. You do not need anything from this room that the room isn't already giving you. Renata asked to schedule a meeting Friday morning to discuss a restructured leadership framework with accurate ownership context. You tell her Friday works. She nods the way someone nods when they are reorganizing a significant amount of information very quickly. Patricia closes her portfolio. The room begins to move. You are the last one out of the building that night. Same as always. The floor is empty, the overhead lights on their after-hours setting, the Atlanta city glow coming through the south-facing windows the way it does every night at this hour. You walk the floor once before you leave. The whiteboards with the campaign timelines, the sticky notes above the media buyer's monitor, the framed print above the junior copywriter's desk. A quote you recognized when she put it up 3 months ago and said nothing about. 42 people work in this building, not 51. The ones here are paid what they're worth, doing work that justifies the billing rate. The company they work for is no longer bleeding in ways they couldn't name. Jerome is at the front desk when the elevator opens. He's doing the crossword the way he always does the crossword. Pencil, not pen, which you once asked him about, and he said, "Some things deserve the option to be wrong." He puts it down when he sees you. You stop at his desk. "You knew," you say. Not an accusation, just the truth offered plainly. Jerome considers this without hurry. "I know this building," he says. "I know who leaves last. I know which lights are still on at midnight." A pause. Your attorney has a loud phone voice. You look at him for a moment, then you laugh. Genuinely. "Why didn't you say anything?" Jerome picks up his crossword. Looks at it without reading it. "Wasn't my place," he says. "Besides." He settles back. "You were doing good work. Place needed it. People needed it." He glances up. Didn't see a reason to interrupt. You stand there a moment longer than you need to. There is something in people needed it that lands differently than you expected anything to land today. A day that had a stolen promotion at 8:52 a.m. and a revealed acquisition by 1 p.m. and a leadership restructure being scheduled before dinner. "Good night, Jerome," you say. He goes back to his crossword. "Good night," he says. Then, after the exact right pause, "Boss." You sit in the Camry in the parking deck for a minute before reaching for the key. You think about Renata's face when the acquisition document clicked into place. You think about the room accounting for itself. The deck, the brief, the pitch, the introduction, all of it suddenly legible in a way it hadn't been 40 minutes earlier. You think about the junior copywriter's framed print. The quote you recognized and said nothing about. Meridian is not the company it was 22 months ago. It is not even the company it was 8 months ago. The revenue is real now, built on rates that reflect the actual work and a headcount that reflects the actual load. The people inside it chose to stay rather than simply not leaving. That is what a turnaround actually is, not a number in a press release, not an announcement in an all-staff meeting, just a building full of people doing real work, paid fairly, pointed at something that matters, and one woman in a Camry in a parking deck in Buckhead, who built it from a desk on the second floor while everyone assumed she was just very good at her job. She was. That part was always true. You start the car.